I reflect back over my life, and I just think about how good he has been to me. And that's the reason why I can say, if he don't ever do anything else, he's done enough. From the King James Version of the Bible, 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles, chapter 20, beginning at verse 15. And he says, hearken ye all Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem, and thou King Jehoshaphat. Thus saith the Lord unto you, be not afraid, nor dismayed by reason of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but it is God. Tomorrow go ye down against them. Behold, they come up by the cliff of life, and ye shall find them at the end of the brook, before the wilderness of Jerusalem. You shall not need to fight in this battle. Set yourself, stand ye still, and see the salvation of the Lord. O Judah and Jerusalem, fear not, nor be dismayed. Tomorrow go out against them, for the Lord will be with you. I want to use for a start today, he will if you let him. There's that song that says, take your what? Well, and do what? It didn't say half of it, did it? It said take all of your burden to the Lord and leave them there. You do know God will punish you for being disobedient. Yes. You do know that, don't you? When I'm over, before I go any further, keep Mother Evangelist Mary Davis lifted up in your prayer, and keep Reverend Wilson. I just got on the phone with him, he's in the hospital. Keep those, and any others that you know, keep them in your prayer. But God will punish disobedience. Now, there is a very slight chance that you may be able to get away. Watch this word. If you are a man or woman enough to go to him and acknowledge to him that you have sinned, and with a sincere heart ask him to forgive you. Watch me. He just might be in the prayer head business and hear that prayer and forgive you. God is omnipotent, which means he's all powerful. He's omnipotent. He knows everything. So you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool God none of the time. A fresh start, a new beginning. Most of us would give anything to have a second chance. Are you going to help me? I'm going to say that again. Most of us would give anything to have a second chance. I often think about it when I'm talking to a group. I was talking to the group down at the juvenile center on Tuesday. And once again, your children, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, is locked up in jail. I had a, it's not too often that I have one, but on this particular day, Mother Davis, I had $100 bill in my pocket. And I took it out and I had 8 boys and 4 girls. I took the $100 bill out and I gave it to this young fella. I said, go buy me a, I said, go buy us a hamburger. I can't. What you mean you can't? They got me locked up in there. I can't. I said, oh. So I went over to the other one. I said, hey man, go buy me and you a hamburger. I can't. I said, so I went over to the white girl. Go buy me and you a hamburger. She took the money. But I can't. I say, so in other words, what you're telling me is your liberty. Your liberty has been taken away from you. I kept looking, I kept talking to them, and even though they're locked up, they trying to be bad. Bristol all up. So it just so happened, I knew what I'm going to have for dinner that evening. I said, I'm going home. When I leave here, I'm going to eat them. I'm going to have pork chop, green, macaroni and cheese, and cornbread, and a big old glass of lemonade. I wish your freedom has been taken away from you. And I kept looking at this one kid, and I kept looking at him, and I just couldn't rest. When I got home, it dawned on me. He's 16 now. Same little knucklehead that I had over at Vicksburg Junior High in the 7th grade. And he was still acting fool. In the 7th grade, now he's locked up. And guess what? Still acting a fool. But see, he gonna have to pay for that. I was talking to the custodians and I said, all these kids that I'm looking at, do they have a solid home foundation? No. I say, it's a broken home. In other words, probably a mother and no daddy. Or grandparents and no parents. You know, and I looked at that and I started saying, I wonder, last night, I said, I wonder, after working on this sermon, how many would take advantage of a second chance? I often say this, if I had the opportunity to go back to school, I would go back to the 5th grade because that's when they started teaching fractions And from fraction, you know, you start going to A plus and all that other stuff, Y, Z equals and all that. I wasn't interested in that stuff then. But oh, if I could just go back, the time that I sit in class and I act crazy, I would be quiet and absorbing everything that I possibly could for what? This old mean, nasty world. I was talking to someone and I can't remember who it was, but they were telling me that they were making, they called them back to work, and that they were making $85 an hour. $85 an hour. That's not chicken feed. That's not chicken feed. And I guarantee you, if you talk to them and you sit with them and you look somewhere behind their name, there is some initials. You know, Joe Harris Jr., comma, and some initials. In other words, but they are prepared. As a matter of fact, I tell you when it was. It just came back to it in Charlotte, North Carolina, at our high school reunion. Young lady who used to work the day, you remember the day that the planes hit them building? Well, the one in the Pentagon hit her office. Just so happened that was the day that she was off. And she told me, she said, you know what, Pastor Harris? She said, I retired. I asked her, I said, you retired? She said, yeah. She said, but I went back to work. I said, what? She said, anytime they're going to pay you $85 an hour. Yeah, I'll go back. I said, guess what? I'll go back to work too. If I had one second chance. Here we looking at King Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat made mistakes in his life. First mistake, God told them, when you get into the promised land, do not intermingle with the folks that's already over there. Because if you do, they will have you living the same way that they are living. And the first thing they're going to do, they're going to have you worshiping their God. Notice what I said. They're going to have you worshiping their God. Which is what? Idol God. They're going to have you living the way that they live. They're going to have you doing the things that they are doing. Well, first thing Jehoshaphat did, king, he united with one of the most ruthless kings in the Old Testament. And that was King Ahab. Yeah. This boy didn't like himself, so you know he didn't like God. And then this was the same one that was what? Henpecked. Nothing wrong with being henpecked if you pecked by the right hand. But this boy here was henpecked. And then on top of that, he was spoiled. But every time he got into trouble, he went to his God to get him out. Who was his God? Y'all know who his God was? Jezebel. Jezebel was Ahab's God. Because every time he got into trouble, he would go and start moping, and she would ask, what's wrong with you? And he would cry, and she'd tell him, she said, I'll fix it. And 9 times out of 10, she would fix it too. But God told Jehoshaphat, don't do it. But when they found out that it was wrong, that it was a group of native Judah, first thing Jehoshaphat did, he went and made alliance with King Ahab. And God told him not to do that. Well, they go into battle. They go into battle. Now watch this. Ahab's friend, Jehoshaphat's friend, Ahab, he dressed not as a king, but as a regular soldier. But he told Ahab, he said, you put on your kingly clothes. Y'all do know, you remember when I tell you all the time that the king couldn't sit in his palace, the king had to go to the battlefield. And he had a certain place when they got to the battlefield where they would stand. But here, these two was in a chariot. And you know the king's chariot stood out over the other. And they noticed it, and they say, there he is. That's the king. But now, Ahab was dressed as a king. But they started fighting, and the Bible says an arrow was fired at the chariot, missed Jehoshaphat, but it landed and hit Ahab. Long story short, Ahab died. God told Jehoshaphat, because you've been disobedient, yeah, you're going to be punished. Over at the nursing home at Shady Lawn, I ask them all the time, and they tell me, I say, God, no later than last week, I said, you know, God punished you for being disobedient. And they looked at me, I said, let me ask you a question. And they get a kick out. I said, how many of y'all got children? And they hold their hand up. I say, now, when your children were disobedient and didn't do what you told them to do, what did you do? Oh, and they just get all that. I used to tear that tail up. I was just listening to them, and then I say, now, we belong to God. What should he do to us when we act up? What's good for the goose? Good for the gander. God gonna punish you for your disobedience. But then Ahab had a friend was a Levite. When he knew he had did wrong, and he went back home, and he talking to his friend. This is what the Bible says. When Jehoshaphat returned home from a battle against the Syrians, he was immediately rebuked by the prophet of God. In other words, he told him, say, now, you did what God told you not to do. You went and aligned yourself with one of the most hateful men against God. You aligned yourself with them. Where is your faith? I just want to ask you today, when we get in trouble today, and the walls start closing in on us, you want to go down to the pawn shop, look out, Harris. You want to go down to the pawn shop, the loan shop, and make all of these big old loans to do what? Get yourself out of what you're not thinking. Because what you're doing, you just getting further and further in trouble. My question is, where is your faith? Oh, I think about all of the time when I listened to Brother McGree, and he put an emphasis on it. I used to work for finance with Island Army. They didn't do nothing. They didn't do nothing but sit up there and push the pencil. Yeah, but I appreciate it anyway. And I sit back and I think about how I didn't like to see payday come. Because when payday come, I didn't have enough money to pay my bill. Why? Because I had dug a hole for myself. Those of us that got the credit card, yeah, those of us, notice what I'm saying. Those of us who got those credit cards, when you look on the back of the contract, it says the interest rate is what, 28.7? Huh? I didn't think about it. And see, all I wanted was a credit card. I just walk in the store and get $200 or $300. Flip that old credit card. What a $300 credit card payment gonna cost you 5 years to pay it off. Because when you paying $75, this is just an example now. If you paying $75 monthly payment, guess how much going toward the main? Maybe $10. The other 65 is going where? To them. Huh? But God don't work like that. All he wants is our what? Our obedience. The prophet told Jehoshaphat, because of what you've done, God is not pleased. And I ask you this constantly when we are talking, especially in Bible study. I ask the question, when you do wrong, if you're a child of God now, and let me say that again. Y'all hear that conjunction? If you are a child of God, when you do wrong, do anybody have to tell you? No. That's if you're a child of God. Now, if you are not a child of God, you're not in him and he's not in you, it don't even bother you. But as soon as you do something wrong, a little light go on. To let you know that you have done wrong. And immediately you should ask him for forgiveness. Prophet told Jehoshaphat, say, you were wrong. But see, God will give you, if you make an attempt, a second chance. It says here that standing face to face with the king, the prophet asked a question. Why should you, a righteous man, help the wicked against God's children? Are you with me? After rebuking Jehoshaphat, the prophet Jehu warned the king that he was to be chastised and he was going to be disciplined by the law. God does chastise or discipline us when we misbehave or disobey his instruction. The Lord has no choice but to punish us. I used to wonder, Mother David, and even today in my age, I ask myself the same question. Mama used to be beating the daylight out of me with an extension cord. And talking about, shut up that noise, shut up that fuss, stop that crying. What's all this? Mama, you beat the hell out of me. And then you got some parents, Deacon Harris, the first thing say, now you know why Mama whipped you? Hello. You done took all the skin off my behind. You talking about you love me. But I stand here today and I can tell you, Cynthia, I can understand that. Because I ain't never been locked up, never been in no trouble. And when I go to waterproof to that graveyard, if my mama could come up just for a few seconds, I'll tell her, thank you. Or y'all ain't with me. That's the way it is with the Lord. There are times when you pray to him, he says yes. And then there's times when he says no. And then there's sometimes he just says wait. That's when your patience is being tried. Oh, I wish I had some help here. Yeah. When we disobey his instruction, God has no choice but to punish us. God's discipline is always the purpose for us to grow. You can't grow if you don't know. In all your mistakes that you made, if nobody ever said anything to you about it, what you do them again. But you take this with you today. This is free. It's a wise man that makes a mistake and learn from it. But it's a fool that makes it. Y'all ain't with me. Yeah. As we get ready to go here, we're talking about whenever we are faced with severe crisis in life, we neither have a way to escape the crisis or the inner strength and knowledge to conquer our crisis. But many times we have no means to escape, no clue as to how to deal with the emergency or the predicament that we are in. It is then more than ever that we need someone who has the power and the resources to deliver us from the crisis. Can I get a witness? The crisis may be an accident, illness, death, criminal act, war, or work-related matter, or some failure And the first thing that we want to do is drop our head and start feeling sorry for ourselves. I wish I had some help in here. Yeah, but no matter what crisis we may face, I got some good news for you. Are y'all ready for the good news? There is someone who has the power and the resources to deliver us. I wish you'd talk back to me now. Someone who can make a way for us to escape. That someone is God himself. This is, standing all alone, the southern kingdom of Judah was facing the possibility of being overran. And they didn't know what they were going to do. As a matter of fact, it was their own relative, the Moab, the nation of Moab, Ammon, and the Midianites were getting ready to launch an attack against Judah. When King Jehoshaphat heard about it, he was standing by himself. No other nations that was around to help him. And when he heard about it, he got nervous, acted that he didn't know what to do. Can you talk back to me? He was alarmed and stricken with fear. Jehoshaphat did the only thing that he knew what he could do. And the Bible says he started fasting and praying. Yeah, I tried fasting, but Mother David being fasting, I tried it, but me and fasting can't get along. I ain't gonna lie to you, because see, one time I said I was going to try and prank. I said, I'm going to fast. And you know what? This is what we do. I'm not the only one. And some of y'all in here did it too. We put God to the test. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to fast from 6 in the morning until 12 o'clock. No, Sister Harris, you and I ain't the only one. Yeah, it's a motor sitting here trying. And then I'm going to fast for 3 hours. I'm going to fast from 6 to 9. Huh? But you still, and look how smart God's children are. I can't fast, child. I can't fast. Cause y'all ready for it? You sure? I got to take my medicine. Been there, done that. But if we are serious about this thing, God will. He'll make a way. Yeah. How you know, Harry? Because I tried him for myself. If we get ready to shut this thing down, if Jehoshaphat and the people were willing to seek the Lord through prayer and fasting, seeking him wholeheartedly, the Lord would deliver them. The 3 nations, the Moab, the Ammon, and the Midianites, were getting ready to launch an invasion against Judah. Just why such a great coalition against that southern kingdom is not stated. But whatever the reason, the invasion caught King Jehoshaphat unprepared. Utterly alarmed and stricken, Jehoshaphat did the only thing that he could do. But it was a good thing because he sought the Lord. And when he sought the Lord, he declared and proclaimed a national day of prayer and fasting. Fasting was and still is a symbol of great distress. Are you going to help me? After the people had gone to Jerusalem, they went to the church to seek the Lord. After the people had gathered in the new courtyard of the temple, Jehoshaphat stood before them and sought the Lord in prayer on their behalf. As I was looking at this, it said there were 5 parts to Jehoshaphat's prayer. The first one, Jehoshaphat, he acknowledged God as the only true and living God. Can I get a witness? Second, he acknowledged the Lord had given the children of Israel the promised land. Third, Jehoshaphat declared that God's people had built the temple in the promised land. Continuing his appeal, Jehoshaphat laid out the predicament that him and his people were facing. And in his closing prayer, this is the part that I like, in his closing prayer, Jehoshaphat begged God, please don't leave us alone. Are you going to help me? When Jehoshaphat was praying, the people were standing silently. Yeah, their heart was joined in prayer. I like what it says, and suddenly there was a man by the name of Jehazazel who was a Levite. You do know the Levites were the ones that was what? Chosen by God. I wish I had some help. They stopped Jehoshaphat, and the Spirit of God encouraged the king and the people not to be discouraged. All you got to do is what? When it gets dark in your life, and it seems like there's no end, all you need to do is just call on the Lord. The Spirit of God then instructed Jehoshaphat and the people to march against the invaders. Yeah, that God would be with them. The Spirit of the Lord gave Jehoshaphat about the movement of the people. The Spirit of the Lord gave Jehoshaphat and the people wonderful news that God would deliver them. Are you going to help me? And just as the Bible says, he says, hearken ye Judah, and all of you inhabitants of Jerusalem, and especially to you, O King Jehoshaphat. Thus says the Lord, be not dismayed, whatever betide, simply because God will. I need you to help me here. God will take care of you, but you have to be obedient, and you have to do what he tells you to do. Tomorrow I want you to go out against them, and you will find them by the cliff of Zion. And you shall find them at the end of the brook. But on this day, I got some good news for you. I don't care what you may be faced with. I want you to go to the battlefield. But this day, you will have no reason to get into no fight. Because the God that I serve is an able God. And he told me to tell you that all you have to do is just go out to the battlefield, take your position, straighten the clothes upon you, and if you want to put your hands in your pocket and just watch God. I need y'all to help me here. Watch God fight your battles for you. Now stop by today to tell you whatever you might be faced with in your life. Don't you fight your own battle. The Bible says take your burden to the Lord and leave it there. If he is in you and you are in him, he will. How many know he will? Fight your battle for you. Are you going to help me? I was catching hell on the job. As a matter of fact, I was getting ready to slap that woman for some of the things she said to me. But just as fast as that thought came to mind, I thought about God said, the battle is not yours. It belongs to me. A couple of days later, I went by her office, and she was taking all the slacks off of the wall, putting them in the box. She was boxing up all of her Can I tell you what had happened? Was messing with one of God's children. The battle was not mine. The battle was hers. They had spied her and told her she had to get out of the building. I just want to tell you, if God is for you, the devil can't harm you. Is he all right? Do you know it's all right? Don't worry. God will. I tell you, God will. He will fight the battle for you. Is anybody in here ever tried it and know that he will fight the battle for you? Is he all right? The Bible says that Satan is like a roaring lion walking around, looking alive, trying to find somebody that he can devour. He's looking for somebody that he can mess with. But I stopped by the third Sunday in August of 2022 just to tell you the God that I serve is an able God. He is no shorter in his word. He has promised me that he will take care of his own. If anybody ever died and know for yourself that he will take care of his own. Last night, body racking in pain. As I laid down, I say, Lord, my body is racked with pain, but I'm leaning and depending on you. I went to sleep, don't know what time, and early, right early, I said early, this morning, shook me out of a sleep. The pain was gone. I say, Lord, I thank you, sir. I stopped by just to tell you, whatever you may be faced with, whatever the situation might be, turn it over. Turn it over. Turn it over. Turn it over. I dare you to turn it over to the Lord, and he'll work it out. If you have it, financial problems, just turn it over to the Lord. If you have a problem on your job, turn it over to the Lord. If you're having a problem in your home, turn it over. I say turn it over to the Lord and watch him work it out. Do you know he's all right? Do you know he's able? Help me say able. Help me say able. You're able. Do you know he's able? Do you know that he's a prayer hearing God? He will answer your prayer. He died. Some folks say he died. How is he going to answer your prayers? Because he died. But I got some good news for you. Can I tell you about the good news? He died that Friday when in the ground. Stayed there all day Friday, all night Friday. Stayed there all day Saturday. Stayed there all night Saturday night. But I got good news. Can I give you some good news? Help me say it early. Help me say it early. Early. Say it early. Say it early. I say it early. Sunday morning. Got out. Go to the battlefield, take your position. But this day, you don't have to fight, because I'm going to fight your battle for you. Put it all in the Lord's hand. Yeah, at least you don't worry about it. Put it in his hand. Turn it over to the Lord and watch him work it out. He died that we might have a right to the what? To the tree of life. He will. He will. You're looking at a living testimony that he will answer your prayer. I just come to tell you. I just come to tell you what Jesus said. I got some good news for you. I come to tell you. I come to tell you. I come to tell you. He said, to tell